Do you like flash games similar to Toss the Turtle or Burrito Bison? Do you like being in the air? Do you like aquatic animals? Well, Learn to Fly might be the game for you. And before I ask what the game was all about, I'm gonna review the main 3 games of Learn to Fly that you either played 1, 2, or all of the games in your lifetime. Starting off with the OG, the games that started it all. So, what is Learn to Fly? Well, to put it this way, it's 2 flash games combined, Shopping Cart Hero and Toss the Turtle in Antarctica, where you play as a little emperor penguin, who at the moment, in his very home on the computer, looking up on the penguin article on Kiwipedia. The little penguin is very happy about his article, until the camera zooms in on these 2 words, flightless birds. The penguin got so pissed off, he kicked down his own door, trampled through the snow to prove that penguins can fly. And this is the story of the penguin who proved him wrong. So, welcome to the game, where you greeted by the title of the video game, drop onto the penguin, and somehow survive. Click on the play button and hop onto the game. So, this game is pretty simple for the moment. Don't worry, it ain't too hard in the end. You'll start out with nothing, and the goal of the game is to fly as far as you can. So you need to beat runs most of the times in getting upgrades. The way you play this is easy. You, the penguin, will go down the slope and fly into the air. Using the left and right arrow keys on the keyboard, you control tilting the penguin in the air until the penguin lands into the water and your run is over. You get money by the end of the run. Progressing during the game is quite simple. Keep repeating your runs for a certain amount of time until you have some money, and once you do, go ahead and buy some upgrades. I'll explain them anyways. Ramp height increases the height of the ramp above the sea level. Useful at the beginning and very useful once you get it fully maxed out at the end of the game. Acceleration, a cleaner surface provides faster acceleration. Basically, it makes the ramp less gritty and more smooth so you can go faster. Also very useful. Air resistance. Reduced air resistance means less speed loss. This upgrade will make the penguin a lot more air resilient to air during flying, which means more flying time for your penguin and more money. Each time you want to upgrade one or more of these, the pricier the upgrades will be, so keep that in mind when you want to upgrade. There's also equipment for your penguin to have during your journey to fly, but there's only 2 types, glider and rocket. Glider helps you to get more air on your flight, but most importantly, there's a gauge to show you how fast you can go, and as you go in the threshold, the rest driven the gauge. During flying, your max speed will be capped and can't go any faster than that. This applies to all the gliders in the game. The rocket, on the other hand, helps you to go a lot more faster during flight. Simple to explain. Make sure that you upgrade your rocket fuel, because the more rocket fuel you have in your rocket, the farther you go, the more money you make on your runs. You'll need as much upgrades and equipment to unlock the stages in this game throughout achievements. Yeah, this game has achievements, but only 4 types. Travel, meaning how far you can go. Fly, how high you can go. Reach, how fast you can go. And glide, how long you can stay in the air. These achievements can earn you money and unlock levels as you progress through the game. There's only 5 levels, and you start out with the 5 height one, and the other ones will be unlocked by completing 4 different achievements until you get to the last stage. The last one, it has 5 achievements, 4 other different types from the previous stages, and the ending for it. Spoiler alert, you need to reach a distance of 6,000 kilometers or miles. I don't know which one is it. Anyways, once you reach the appropriate distance, the cutscene shows your penguin believed to fly for a certain amount of time. Then all of a sudden, face first to the iceberg, a piece of equipment falls off. And this shows, and this is why no one believed that penguins can learn to fly. And that's the end of the first game. Now it's time for the sequel of Learn to Fly, Learn to Fly 2. So, in Learn to Fly 2, the story starts like this. A penguin ends up in the hospital after the event of the penguin crashing into an iceberg back from the first game, which is called The Wall in this sequel. Laying in bed for a little bit, he wakes up, shoved the items into the floor, got the laptop, then the penguin types in failberg.org and browses through it for a moment. He sees a post named Doo Still Can't Fly, and he was very happy. Another post, Flying Penguin, more like Cannonball. The penguin gotten so mad, he burst out of the hospital window, landed face first onto the snow, and looked at the camera menacingly. Anyhow, welcome to Learn to Fly 2, where the intro menu and the main menu are almost identical from the first game, of course. But anyways, let's get on to the main game of the sequel. So, same gameplay wise from the first game, but there are a couple of differences from the first game. Yes, there's more equipment from the first one, which there are only two, glider and the rocket, but they added two more new types of equipment, respectively payload, which I'll explain that later, and the sleigh. Also, there's more equipment for the existing equipment for the glider and the rocket, and on top of that, they had the black market, which basically acts like premium items in trade for BP bonus points. These can only be achieved by completing challenges in the second game. I'll explain more for the third game. The black market is different from the second game. So these VPs can be used for a range of items that can be from changing the music, earning more money from runs, being air resilient, and many more. As from the previous game, you basically fly to earn money, but the objective is different in this sequel. So you control a dummy penguin. The actual one is still in recovery though, who has through goal his to kill list, which are his 5 things that need to be destroyed, from starting order with the snowman, snow mound, rocky hill, iceberg, and finally the wall, to put it respectfully. And this is where the payload comes into play. Basically, whatever upgrades you have during your runs, you go full speed with a lot of power to destroy what's on his kill list. You do this repeatedly until you destroy the wall, the ice wall to put it respectfully. And once you do that, you get a cutscene of the dummy destroying a chunk of the wall, which caused to crumble, sink into the bottom of the ocean. The penguin was very happy. Got home, logged into not Facebook because that is copyrighted, made a post that said got revenge on those pesky icebergs, mission accomplished, like his own comment and smile. Then someone, penguins suck, what kind of stupid non-flying animal calls itself a bird? Give up and die in the fire. Got him pissed off, so he goes back to the basement room, grab the cloth, tug it, also grabbing the rod with the thing on the top, hold it up so that sunlight lit up the treasure box, opens up the stuff that the penguin used in the first game, destroyed his own door, and pushes out the treasure box. Congratulations, you beat in the second game. After you complete the story mode, you unlock classic mode, which basically the base game of the second game, but you play the actual penguin instead of the dummy. In arcade mode, which you're to fly as far as you can. Now, time for the final game of the Learn to Fly series before I give it a rating on all of them. Learn to Fly 3. So, the last game of the Learn to Fly trilogy, Learn to Fly 3. And let's get right into it. So, once you boot up the game, you'll be greeted by a different loading screen. Super penguin with 3 little penguins flying behind him, and as you move the mouse cursor within the loading screen, they will actually follow it. A little nice touch on it. Anyways, once you press start game or start muted, an intro of the creator who made the Learn to Fly series. I forgot to mention this person, Lightbringer, who made all 3 Learn to Fly games from the very beginning when I first made this review. My dearest apologies. Anyways, where was I? Before you go to the actual game, you see a screen like this says, it seems that you don't have a Congret account. Don't worry, if you don't want to play on the website that is recommended or play on Flashpoint, the Flash software collection that I'm using for this making of this game review, click on continue anyways, though you will miss out on consumables, online saving, and most importantly the black market. I shall explain that in this video later. After all that, you're off to the main menu of the third game. So go ahead and press play, select a save slot for your game, and select your game mode. Story starts like this for the last game. Scene shows that you're still in Antarctica, but also shows you a building named Penguin NASA. Inside of it, you'll see penguins doing some experiments, others learning about space, and others just having fun. The penguin from the previous 2 games is here, holding 2 glass speakers with strange chemicals. I don't want to know what's inside these chemicals. Anyways, for a brief moment, he's slowly merging the chemicals in, until a nerdy penguin interrupts the penguin by dropping the books onto the table. He looks at his speaker for a tiny bit, then looks up at the stack of books with a paper sheet on top of it. He glances at the paper that said, like flying. But up! The penguin took off his glasses to admire the nerdy penguin and his idea. A few seconds later, the penguin kicks down the NASA door. Man, this penguin liked to kick down doors. Anyways, after the intro story is over, you're into the main game, and for the first few runs, you'll be greeted with a penguin with a headset. He's going to help you on how to play the game. Thus, it's better as I tell you the objective and game mechanics of the third and final game of Learn to Fly. Learn to Fly 3 objective is straightforward. You're not going horizontal to see how far you fly. Instead, you're going vertical. In other words, you'll be going up. But up where? In space. Therefore, do some runs until you got some money. Gameplay wise is particularly different from the last two games except the flying, hence that some of the game mechanics from the previous two games are either removed, altered, or perhaps a bit of both. I'll give you a few examples. Example number 1. Ramp length and ramp height. In the previous two games, those will help you out on getting far as you can. This is not existent for the last game because this penguin wants to reach space, not flying across the world. Example number 2. Making money in this game is different from the previous two. Distance is replaced with altitude. Duration is still there, but the name is different in the final game and it's named Airtime on this one. The instruction for Learn to Fly 2 is completely removed. And 2 new ways to make money, which is the bonus earnings and daily interest. Those 2 are new in the third game and will be unlocked from the bonus shop. Yes, that shop is back from the second game. I'll explain more in detail during talking about the black market also too. Example number 3, obstacles during flying. Now, the first and second game doesn't have obstacles to screw over your runs. However, in this one, you gotta be aware of anything during flying. It might and shall put you off trajectory from reaching into space. Now, after you make some money from runs, let's talk about equipment. Equipment is very different from the previous two games. You have this time 3 new types of equipment, starting with the launcher. Simple to explain, it launches the penguin into the air and there's different types of launchers ranging from a base spring-loaded base to an advanced nuclear reactor. There are some that are interesting. Go ahead and try to experiment all of them and see which one suits for you. Next up, the body, which acts like the glider but it goes up or down depending on you controlling the flight during gameplay. Also, bodies can give you more booster slots and more stage slots, depending on the bodies that you use, and some that have boosters integrated within, so you can boost without buying more equipment. And speaking of boosters, now they're back from the last game was modified particularly. What I mean is that some equipment that were used from the last two games are in different compartments in the last game, but you can still control boosters manually, and some can help you get you less drag, dodge obstacles, and many more. And finally, stages. These are like the automatic versions of boosters, and some equipment from the previous game are in here. They're used automatically. Some can help boosting by pressing the S or down arrow key button. Some equipment in stages are one-time use. Others, on the other hand, use until it's all gone. Now, a few key notes that you must know. First point, the bodies. When you buy a body in this game, the slots on the body that you purchase will be different from other bodies. Let's just say one has 2 stage slots and 0 booster slots, while the other one may have 1 stage slot and 3 booster slots. And this, your current body has some stage and or booster slots that have equipment in them, but you want to try a new body and one or most of them is grayed out on either slot. You can't use that equipment in the slot that is grayed out. So you either move the equipment to the top slot of either the booster or stage slot, or upgrading using equipment that's not grayed out. Speaking of upgrades, second point, upgrading existing equipment. So upgrading equipment is doable. The other two games, not so much. In those games, you just buy the equipment, a one-time buy, and that's it. This one lets you buy the equipment and upgrade them to the max, and oh boy, there are many different textures as well you brought it, particularly upgraded or even fully maxed out. And these ain't for showing off. No, no, no. So upgrade them and see what ends up with you we get. And the last point, the black market. Now, if you're a daily person or a fan of Congress, then you know what I'm talking about. Have you ever heard of microtransactions? Let me tell you, it's basically a shop that lets you buy sardines. Yes, I'm being absolute real here. Sardines for real world cash if you go to Congress games. And those sardines can be traded for bonus points so that you can use them in the bonus shop to give yourself an edge in game, and or booster packs will give you some randomized stuff ranging from bonus points, in-game cash, textures for bodies, and other stuff that you can use on your current save file or a new game, whatever you prefer. After all the upgrading and or buying new equipment, now it's time to learn how to play this. Simple. Some launchers will let you click on screen, others will need to adjust it by the AD or left and right key buttons. The buttons will also move the penguin in the body whenever you have one or not, and others will just be automatically. And once you reach liftoff, you can maneuver using the keys on the keyboard. AD, left or right arrow keys for turning the body, W or up arrow to use the booster manually, and S or down arrow key to slow down whenever you have any equipment in any stage slot. And try to reach as high as possible and earn money. Do this repeatedly until you have the perfect setup for your penguin. And once you do that, launch the penguin up in the air and pray to the RNG god that nothing gets in your path to reach space. One spoiler alert, you need to reach 200k in order to reach into space. And once you do that, a screen shows that the penguin is up in space, seeing the Earth's atmosphere and the moon while the sun is shining onto Mother Earth. During that time, the penguin flies for a brief moment until you land onto the moon. And that is the end of Learn to Fly 3. Roll the credits for this game and say, yay! Completed the game of Learn to Fly 3. Now once the credits settle in, you can choose your booster pack, open it to what contains inside, and also unlock classic and payload mode. Now there's a hidden ending in story mode of Learn to Fly 3, but I ain't telling you because I want to go experience it on your own. Go ahead and play it again. And that's the Learn to Fly series. Now time to scoring the games, and what better way to start off with the first one. It is basic, looks plain, and it doesn't have much upgrades, and once you've been in it, it doesn't add replay value, but it's the start of a series that most of you played back in the good old days and nostalgia. I give it 5 out of 5. Now, the second one. Upgrades are improved in the sequel, and once you've been in it, and there's only one game mode that only plays the penguin from the first game, and gameplay is still the same, just like in story mode. It only adds a bit of replayability, but if you want to do it again, be my guest. 5 out of 5. Now, the final one. Some game mechanics has to be sacrificed for the final game. Upgrades are vastly improved, and there's 3 game modes that can be unlocked after beating the game. Unfortunately, I don't know how to unlock the last game mode in Learn to Fly 3. If anyone knows, please leave a comment. But some people will be turned off by Michael Chen's actions in this game. So if you don't like it, don't worry. It's just optional for you to give yourself an edge. 5 out of 5. Altogether, I give the Learn to Fly series 5 out of 5. Highly recommended for those who want to play for letting time go by and or the nostalgia of it. Now, playing these games can be a bit difficult. Since Flash is now gone, for all 3 games, you need to use a browser extension. Find a website that has the game but using the different computer programming like HTML for example, or even using a website that lets you play SW files. But if you don't want to go for all of the process of that, just use Flashpoint, which houses all the Flash games and videos that were in Flash and other codings that were rarely used in modern society. This is what I use for all the Learn to Fly games, except Learn to Fly 3. This one is accessible on Steam for some reason, so if you want to play that, feel free to do so. But on the other 2, most likely you will need a browser extension, find a website that plays SWF files for the other 2 Learn to Fly games, or any other game that was written in Flash. So I highly recommend Flashpoint to play the first 2 or all 3 Learn to Fly games. And if you want to play other Flash games on Flashpoint, that's cool too. Anyways, that's all for now. More game reviews to come, and I'll see you later. Ciao.